I've tried this so many times I can't even tell you. Let's try to do a comprehensive look at the X15 and beyond library browser. We had a big overhaul of the library browser in Chief Architect X15, and it caused a lot of pain and suffering to many people. But I think once you learn all of the different features that are built into this new library browser, you'll come to appreciate just how fantastic it is. And there's quite a bit to unmask. I've tried this video a number of times. Sometimes it takes me a half an hour to get through it all. So we're going to try it again this time. Stay tuned, please, because we're going to dive right in and get into some of the advanced features of the library browser, as well as going over just some of the basic operators and functions and also settings that you might like in your library browser. Now, keep in mind, we have different systems, we have different monitors setups, so the way you arrange your library browser is going to be unique to you. But I'll show you how I'm doing mine, and then maybe that'll give you some ideas. So let's just kick into this right now. Now, right off the bat, I like to keep my library browser window very small and off to the side screen here. I've got an ultra-wide monitor, so what you're seeing recorded on the screen right now is just a part of that ultra-wide monitor. So typically, my library browser is off to the side of that ultra-wide monitor of this main application window. But when I click on it, which means that I'm now activating the modal window that is the library browser, well, in a Windows machine, I can hit the Windows key plus left and expand my library browser to half the size of my screen, which is a really powerful thing. So that when I type in something like toilet and hit search, I can select my toilet and then window key right again, and I'm still placing that toilet, and my library browser is off the screen and out of my way. So just right off the bat, that's a fantastic tip for you if you want to just expand that library browser to something that you can see while you're working in it. Now, for those Mac users, I'm not exactly certain how you do this. What I think you do is that you hover over your green button at the top of your modal window for your library browser, and that might give you the option to tile left. And then maybe you hit escape so that you're not tiling the rest of the application to the right. So something to keep in mind, something to test out. You'll have to test that out and let me know in the comments. The next part about kind of making this setup look and feel the way where it's easy for you to see what you're looking for, we're going to go over the bottom toolbar section here. So at the very bottom of my library browser window, we've got the gear icon, which is our library browser panel options, and we click on that and we see all the individual panels that can be included in the library browser. And we can also lock those panels. We'll go over this in a second. Next up is either we've got a list mode or we've got a tile mode. Now in a list mode, it's going to list our individual items one by one. Now this can be helpful. Maybe you have a difficult time seeing your screen. Maybe you just like to see things in a list fashion. This is a great way of just looking at this in a linear way, all right? And then the tile mode will tile these items left to right, top to bottom within that filtered results panel. Now, when you hover your mouse over this panel and you click and hold your control button, and then you mouse wheel either up or down, that's going to zoom in the extents of these particular items or zoom down, okay? Same thing in list mode. So maybe you're in list mode, you want to see that list very easily. You can control and mouse wheel and then expand that up, control and mouse wheel up. So if you have something like a G604 mouse, we have the ability to click on a button, which makes it an infinite scroll, which means I can hit control and then spin my mouse wheel really fast and get to the extents of those zooms, right? So same thing, I can spin it real fast to just get in and zoom in real tight. So a couple tricks there. Now I want you to notice that when I search toilet, we also see some folders here, and that's because I have this next item option checked, okay, which is search subfolders. So at the bottom of my screen here, I've got search subfolders checked, as well as include folders in text search. Actually, include in folders in text search is what's getting us these items in this particular search. So that if we uncheck that, we're going to see that those folders disappear. Let me recheck that and just show you a workflow. Maybe it's that I want to look in a particular folder and see what's in there. contained in that folder. Now notice that this particular folder has the Chief Architect logo icon on top of it, whereas the one next to it does not. What that means is that this is a user catalog item. When I hover over this, you'll notice that it's showing me the path of that folder. When I hover over this sink and toilet, it's showing me the path of that folder. So that if I double click this, it brings me to that folder path up here in the folders panel. And it shows us in the filtered results what is inside of that folder panel, okay? Now, if I want to go back a level, go back to my search results, I can get to the top of the screen and hit this back button very quickly. So that gets me back to my search results, my filtered results. So if I uncheck that include folders in text search, that's going to make that disappear. Now that other item, which is search subfolders at the bottom here, we'll uncheck that and show you what this looks like. I'm going to hover over this filtered search parameter. Okay, so this search parameter at the top, when we hover over it, it shows us what it is. It shows us an X mark when we hover over it. So what that means is when we click anywhere on this, it's going to remove that as a search parameter. Now I want to go ahead and truncate all these. We could of course right click and collapse all, or right click and expand all. Okay, so we're going to right click, collapse all. I'm going to click on the user catalog, and what this is going to show me is only those items that lives one level down from the user catalog, meaning that these items are inside of the user catalog folder. They're not in any kind of a subfolder. They're directly inside of the user catalog folder. When I, down at the bottom of the screen, click on include subfolders, that's going to include folders that are nested inside of folders. This means that we're looking at every item that's in my library right now, okay? Which is a lot of items. I've got something like 3,800 items. So that's particularly useful when we're trying to drill down in particular folders versus just searching within one folder. Maybe it's that I want to look in that for toilets again, and we're going to include folders in our search, and then I want to double click on this, and then I'm going to just highlight my search parameter. All Boolean text searches will be overwritten when we just highlight and type in a new text search, meaning we don't actually have to clear the text search for toilet. We just type in a new search. So in this case, I want to just search the folder that I'm looking in. Let's say that we're looking in accessibility only, all right? So we're looking in accessibility, and I want to search within accessibility. And notice when I clicked on that, that added this as a search parameter, a filtered result, okay? Accessibility is now our search parameter. Now within this, I want to look for elongated, all right? And I'm only trying to search the accessibility. And we see here that it shows that elongated toilet. If I were to uncheck search subfolders, you're going to see that it doesn't actually show up because it's only looking inside that accessibility folder. We'd have to click down to the next level, which is toilets, to see that that's included in this search parameter. All right. So it gets a little bit complex. I like to leave my setup set to search subfolders and include folders in text search because I have some other tricks and tips to find exactly what I need as I'm searching for them. Let's go ahead and clear our search results. Now I'm going to talk about a few things that you can type into the filtered search results or search parameters that you can find things very quickly, which is that we can click in and type in something like symbol, and then what that's going to get us to is symbol options. Now if we click in and type symbol type, this is going to give us to type options where I can scroll down and find symbol type toilets. So there we go. We've immediately picked up the symbol type that are toilets. What does that mean exactly? Well, if I right click on one of these items and open object, and this is going to bring up our dialog box for this fixture specification, I'm going to get into the options panel. And within the options panel, you'll notice in the options section, we've got the type is set to toilets. Now, if this were set to something else, it would no longer show up when we search for symbol type and the type of toilets, okay? So when you're saving items to your library and you're classifying them, make sure you get into the options panel, into the options section, and properly designate your item so that it's easier to search with some of these advanced search techniques. Okay, now before we get too far into some of these filtered searches, I want to go over the rest of the interface here. So with all of our various panels clicked on, we see our preview window. Our preview window can show items in a standard rendering mode, glass house. It can show a plan view mode where it shows us the 2D CAD representation. It can show a vector view. Also, if we go ahead and look for a material, some of these options change. Now we can look at a rendered view. So instead of just a standard and vector view, we can also see a physically based rendered view. And as we move around, we see here that it's using our graphics card, and it in fact is using some of the options set by default, which is I have cap live samples set at 4 and denoise set to activate once it's done capping those live samples. So you notice here in the library browser, you saw that little blip go on the right hand side of the screen. That means it's denoising as it's settled in and finished with its live samples. So this is a really great way of seeing some very advanced symbol materials in our preview window. I'm going to click off that tag. That's going to remove that as a filtered results. Now I want to click on include web results. So when we've got include web results checked, and you can see this is right next to our search bar here. It's this item right here, include web results. When I search in toilets now, we're going to see that we get a lot more results. In fact, let me just clear that S on the end of this, just toilet. We're getting a lot more results here, and in fact, hundreds of results here. So you can see here, some of these items have an icon next to them that looks like a globe. What that means is this is available as part of an online catalog, and that online catalog in this case is not downloaded to my system. And so what I can do here is a couple different things. I could right click and go on to download catalog. I can also just click on this, and in my details panel, we can see that I have the option to download catalog here. We also have the option to open details or look at the catalog itself. If I click on the catalog itself, it shows me this is the entire catalog, okay? We can click on any item here. Let's just open the details window. What happens when I click on that? Well, guess what? It brings up this screen, which takes us right over to the Chief Architect catalog that this represents, okay? So you can see some additional info here if you like. Now, on top of this, we can obviously right-click on any one of these items and get some additional options, but we would have to download that catalog first. Alternatively, we could go into expand the manufacturer catalogs, and then when we expand the manufacturer catalogs, and so long as this include web results is checked, what's going to happen here is we're going to get this option to view online catalogs, and this is going to show us catalogs that we have not downloaded yet. So there we go. We can scroll down and we can see that we don't in fact have the Kohler catalog downloaded yet, and that's what these symbols represent. Now once you've downloaded this particular catalog, what happens is, and you might want to go check out the Chief Architect library video, is you're going to get a orange icon that shows a little spin wheel, if you will, and that's going to show you that you have some updates pending, which means that if you right click on that particular catalog that has that icon, you will then update the system. I did not prep this video so that I was forcing updates on my system. Everything I have is up to date already, so unfortunately I can't show you that icon in this case. Now I want to click that back wheel. We obviously can go back through our searches, check out some other things. The next thing I want to go over is adding filters, advanced searches, okay? So in this case, I want to go ahead and type in, let's just type in that symbol type again. Actually, let's do an even better one than that. Let's go ahead and type in light. Now, when I type in light, well, I have a tag called light, and that's why we're looking at this icon right here where we see that there's a tag option. Okay, that's the tag icon. We look through, we see some Chief Architect folders. We look through and we see some user folders. But at the top here is symbol options light. I'm going to click on that first. The next thing I want to type out is mount. Okay, now when I type out mount, and keep in mind, one thing to note about having online search parameters, it's going to take a little bit longer depending on your internet speed to search through the online catalogs as well. But there we go. I typed out mount, and then I can designate wall mounted. What's that going to get me? That's going to get me any symbol that in its options has it set to be a wall mounted fixture, right? So if we right click on this art light, for instance, and let's just, in this case, we want to show it in folder. I'm going to right click this now, and I'm going to copy this to the user catalog. This is going to give me some additional options. We're going to take a look at what this does. So this art light now, when I open the object, what are we going to see? One is in the options panel, we're going to see that in the placement section, this is designated as wall mounted. Okay, so it's designated as wall mounted. Notice that we don't actually have a light parameter in the options here, but the light data, here we go, is where it's specified as light, and it has some light sources here. Because this is checked, Chief Architect knows that this is a symbol type that has lights. Okay, so let's go back a few here, and we're going to see here wall mounted light. We're going to clear this folder. There we go, wall mounted and light. What can we do with this? Say we want to search this over and over again. Well, one is I'm going to uncheck include web results. I don't want to include web results in this case. It's much faster when I have all of my content downloaded to just search what's on my hard drive only. But in the case that I'm not finding what I need, I'm going to click on that include web results for later on to be able to find things quickly. So back to our search parameters that are placed here and shows as filtered search parameters. I'm going to click on this plus icon on this filter here, okay, for advanced search. When I do that, it's going to bring up this dialog box. Notice here, it's selected search parameters are placed down here. We still have that same function that if we hover over this and click, it's going to remove that as a search parameter. Additionally, you can add more search parameters just by expanding the hierarchy menu in the object attributes section. In this case, I don't want to do that. And in fact, we can add a few things like text contains, or we want to match an entire word, or we want to exclude certain keywords, or we want to exclude certain catalogs. These are all options we can do in those advanced search parameters. So for instance, maybe I don't like any sconces that are included in the Kohler catalogs, so I can expand this and find a catalog that I don't want to include. Or maybe it's that I don't want to include it from a particular catalog within the core catalogs. So that's a way we can exclude that search parameter from certain searches, right? So let's go ahead and save this as wall sconces. You can see I've done this a couple times. And there we go. And I'm going to click done. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and clear my filters. Now what happens is when I come over to this filter section and I click on this down arrow, there's that new filter, right? So I'll click on that and you can see it applied my saved settings, and we're seeing our wall sconces. So it's really easy for you to add a bunch of advanced searches so you can get to these items over and over again very quickly. All right, so that's one way of getting to items very quickly. I'm going to show you a couple other things that we can do. I'm going to type in RD shelf because I have a whole system where I've added search attributes to that system, and that search attribute is called RD shelf. It's going to come up with an entire system here, okay? Within this section here, I might type in something like style palette, and I can get down and go to type style palette. This is going to give me results that are specifically style palettes with the search attribute of RD shelf. It's a really fantastic way of getting to something very, very quickly. Now, if I control mouse wheel down, we're going to see that we're showing more of what's in this filtered results. And it might be that I either hit Control Alt, or I can click and drag and make group selections this way. And we still have that Control and Shift modifiers, right? So that if I control and drag a marquee, I am deselecting certain items, right? Control, and I'm deselecting certain items. So this is a great way to group select certain items. Now, I'm going to go ahead and select all of these items, and I'm going to right click, and what that right click menu is going to get me to is a few things. One is that I can apply tags to this entire group, or I can apply search attributes to this entire group. Now, on the left-hand side of our search attributes window, and keep in mind, we can still use our window key to make this window larger or smaller if we want to. If for you, it's truncated to a smaller size like this, window left on a PC is going to expand this window. And that's really helpful to be able to just see everything. All right, so on the left-hand side are all of the objects that I have selected. Now for this particular keyword I have selected, which is closet, very at the top of the keyword section here, we're going to notice here that it's listing on the left-hand side, all of the objects have a check mark for that particular search parameter that's listed as closet. So for instance, I have the search parameter called rab here, and you're going to notice everything has rab applied to it. In this case, we also know that every one of these items has RD shelf applied to it. So it's really easy for me to find these items. You'll also notice that we've got a check mark right here. That means that's an indicator that every one of these items has that particular search attribute. Now we can take Rabs, for instance, and I don't know, this is a little bit redundant. Maybe I want to delete this keyword. We have that option to remove that particular keyword, right? Also, we have a keyword like shelf. We know that all these are in a shelf system. So we've got RD shelf, but we've also got shelf. Now, if I click on shelf, and we can see here where it says no change, if I just click on no change, it's going to give a check mark. It has now applied that search parameter to everything that's on the left-hand side. So this is a really powerful way for organizing your library very, very quickly by adding search parameters that are easy to find. For me, I love having the prefix RD for Rabbitt Design because it's my system. It's really easy to find exactly what I'm looking for just by knowing that if I want to find what I'm looking for first, I can type in RD as a prefix first. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press OK and back out of this. Now the next thing I can do is I can right click and I can hover down into the tags section, and within tags I've got the ability to take any of the tags that I have existing already and put a check mark on them to apply that tag to the entire group. Or I can click on manage tag, and you'll notice here that we've got a plus icon, and that plus icon I can just add a tag to this existing tags. Now in this case, I like how my existing system is set up with its tags, so I'm not going to modify it. I'll show you how these particular tags work in a little bit later in this video. The next thing I want to note here is I'm missing notes in this particular case, and notes are a really powerful feature, and there's some other powerful features here as well. I'm going to click on just these set of books right here, and we're going to notice in the details section, it's showing us what catalog it's in. It's also showing us what folder it exists in. So for instance, maybe I remember that this particular item, when I found it in a search, is included in a folder where I'm looking for another item in that folder, but I don't remember the name of that item. What I can do here is then search for that item I do remember, and then in the details section, just click on folders, and it's going to navigate to the folder where that item exists so that I can search in this particular folder. And then we can go ahead and type in a new search to include in search results from this folder. So I can say something like closet. Right, so single with items, single with shelf items. There we go. We're limiting to just this section, and I'm getting to folded closet items. All right, so that's a really powerful way of doing things. Again, that's in the details section. Now notice there's a notes section. Now with something highlighted here, and if I highlight this entire group, we're going to see that the notes are uniform across that entire group, which means I edited them all at once. Now if I zoom in on this, we're just going to see in that details section, we've got this little pencil icon. That means we can click and add in some text, including hyperlinks. So it might be that you want to hyperlink to a particular item that has an associated price listing online somewhere. So how we do that is add in some text. I'm just going to highlight this, add in some text. I'm going to click on this insert link, and we're going to get into this insert hyperlink area here where we can type in something and type in the address itself. In this case, that's not going to work too well, but when I click on save, you're going to see that that showed up as an additional link, and it's not going to take us anywhere. That's not very helpful. So let me go ahead and grab that and get out of there and click save. But you will notice that if I click on this link, it's going to bring me to, you guessed it, my particular item within my shop items on my website. So this is part of my system. It takes you back to my shop. What you could do is you could take this and send it to some kind of help or support files if you want, or you can have it linked to a particular page that you like, or take you to a particular document on your system if you like. So those are all things that you can do. In fact, I've never tried to take it to a document. Let's see if we can, in fact, get us to that particular document. Here's a use case for this. I'm going to click on just materials as a tag because I have most of my materials tagged. And then I'm going to find a material that might have a texture such as this rug. Okay. Now I'm going to add some notes to this, but before I do, let me go ahead and right click on the object. Let's go open object. And then I want to get into the texture panel and I'm going to find this file source, okay? I'm going to Control A to select that. And in this case, this is pointing to some textures that are not synced up. Yeah, Control A, I'm going to Control C to copy and press OK. Now in the notes, what I'm going to do here is insert a hyperlink, and the text is going to be source image. And the address I'm going to paste, okay? And here's where I'm going to erase this Arizona 2 part, okay? Because I don't actually want this to open that image. I want to locate that image so that I can edit it if it needs to get updated. So I'm going to delete that portion of it and just leave this. Now notice in this particular case, because I'm on a PC, this is pointing to a PC's Explorer address, okay? So let me press OK. Let's test this out. I'm going to hit save. Now we've got that hyperlink in with this particular material. Let me click on source image. And what does it do? Well, unfortunately, all we can do there is copy link location in this case. It's not going to automatically navigate us to this. But if I did copy that and bring that into Windows Explorer, I can easily find that there's that Arizona 2 when I control mouse wheel up. So I could edit that source image, save it in its place, and then it's going to edit on the Chief Architect side as well. Now in the preview window, I want you to notice that things are looking a little bit backwards here. I'm looking at the back side of this particular cube, right? So in that preview window, we can hover over restore original view, and that'll bring you back to the original view. And it depends on what you're previewing here, whether it be the cube, sphere, teapot, or the plane. Sometimes it's useful to look at something as a plane or cube. In the plane, when you're rotating around this and you get, maybe you zoom to extent or got a little bit past the item that you're trying to take a look at, you can always click on this to restore that original view. Okay, next up, before we get into do a deep dive into tags, I want to look at some Boolean operations in the search parameters. Okay, so I'm going to clear my search out. And then what I'm going to look at here is, in this case, I do want to click on show online content. And in fact, I am going to download that color catalog just so we take a look at this and maybe get some things from here. So we'll take a look at this color catalog. I'm going to download that catalog. And here we go. It's going to show us here. This is a 2 GB file. So it's going to take a second. Okay, now that this is downloaded, let's do a couple of special searches here. And you're going to notice it's going to copy thumbnails. It's copying these images into your source texture directory. And so if you have this, your Chief Architect installed on a Windows machine and you've got OneDrive active, it might be that once this is downloaded, it's also going to have to sync that up. It depends on how you've got your system set up. So if you've got any problems with that, just reach out to me. That's something I can go over with you in detail about searching and doing cloud service setups. So now it shows us that the library import has completed successfully, 2,500 items. There we go. Let me press OK. So I'm going to uncheck include web results, and then we'll do a couple of Boolean searches. Now what I'm going to search out first is just toilets, right? So that's going to give us a bunch of different results. In this case, we've got 410 results. Now I want to look at these toilet lids, if you will, right? Here's a toilet seat. So let's say I want to search only toilets and not toilet seats. What do? Well, we can either type in capital N-O-T, seat, right? And what we'll notice here is that we removed seats, okay? The next part is, let's look at this elongated toilet bowl. I don't want to include toilet bowls as well, right? So what are the search parameters there? Well, in this case, the name bowl is actually in the title. Let's look at some of these others. Let's make sure that all these kind of have that name bowl in the title, right? So everything's got bowl in the title. So what happens when we go not bowl? All of a sudden we're eliminating these items, right? Here's a water guard, a few different other things, but now all of a sudden our search results are down to 302. We've also got some valves in here, right? So here's our toilet flushometer hybrid retrofit, wave touchless, all right? it might be useful to right click on this, show in folder, or look at the search attributes. So in this case, flushometers is a search attribute. So let's actually say not flushometer. All right, that's getting rid of some of those valves. What else is here? We're looking at these accessories, Devonshire, right? Toilet tissue holder. Not holder. All right, finally we're getting to just these toilets. So we've got Boolean operators. What happens if we do toilet not seat or bowl or flushometer or holder? Well, all of a sudden those things show back up. Not only are we searching for toilet not seat, but we are searching for toilet not seat, or we're searching for bowl, or we're searching for flushometer. Notice that bowl sconces all of a sudden showed up. So what happens then if instead of toilet not seat, we go instead of toilet not parentheses and then enclose this section and press enter? We're back to that search parameter. We have contained seat or bowl or flushometer or holder, and we're saying we don't want to see those items. So Boolean operators here. Let's show you another example of this. Let's go toilet, and then what I'm going to do is exclamation mark seat. So exclamation is the same as typing out that capital N-O-T. Now I want to give us the backslash key, backslash key, shift backslash key, okay? That gives us that straight up and down line. You can see this, take a look, that straight up and down line. That is the operator for or. So it's another little quick tip there. So we're doing toilet, not seat, and then or, let's just go bath. So what are we getting in this case? Well, we're getting toilets, not seat, but we're also including bath, right? What's another kind of setup for this that might be helpful? So we're saying no toilet seats, but also let's include bath, all right? So what might we do? We might do toilet and then exclamation mark, Kohler, and this is going to limit things to just the toilets that are outside of that Kohler catalog. And then on top of that, we can control all and then match a whole word. So maybe it's that you've got a particular search that you're looking for that you want to match an entire word for. Because the other thing that we could have done is we could have just typed in toil exclamation KOH. And that's going to get us to things that have a partial match, right? So very quickly, we just typed in a more truncated version and we got to our results super fast. Now you can use these and make them coincide with tags as well. So we're stacking our particular searches, right? This can only get more complex, but it gets more complex to make our life a little bit easier. So I'm going to show you how my stack tag system works. In my particular setup, and notice I hovered over one of these division lines and I could expand my particular setup. We're going to clear out existing filters, and what I'm going to show you is the way I like to search, is that I'm thinking through this and I know that I need a light. And on that light, I know that I need a wall-mounted light. So very quickly, I got to my sconces. So that's a really fast way of searching. Now, instead of searching this way, let's go a different route with this one. I'm going to clear out that light parameter. Instead, I'm going to leave wall, and then I'm going to click on material, and then I'm going to say exterior. And this gets me to only my exterior wall materials. Okay, and I'm only tagging my items because I like my items and I have an extensive library that I've built up over 10 years. So very quickly I get to exactly what I want. Maybe I want some kind of, maybe I want wall decor. We'll click on decor and then we'll click on wall. And this is going to get me to a bunch of different wall decor. You're going to see that we've got art here and we've got a few other things. Now maybe it's just that I want wall decor for bed, bath, and closet. That's going to get me to, you guessed it, just some filter results that are mirrors. So very quickly I got to mirrors. Let's try another one of these setups here. Let's just get into, let's see, we're going to say decor and then countertop shelf. So these are now items that are that sit on top of a countertop. They're placed on top of it. That's in the options itself. So that if we were to click on this sand bowl and open this object, and we got into the options panel, we can see here in special placements, it sits on base cabinet or table. So a great way of organizing your library very quickly is doing some of these symbol type parameters, such as sits on, see, sits on base cabinet or table, and then you're able to select these items and do a group selection, if you will, and then tag that in the way that I've tagged my own systems, and also add in some notes and also add in some search attributes. That way you get to a library that's built for you, really well organized, gets you to exactly what you need right away. I feel like I could go on and on about this particular system. I know that I can find exactly what I need so fast. It's really amazing. I mean, I type in range, for instance, and then we're going to find symbol type freestanding range. And then I can do exclamation mark, and let's just go no sub for sub-0 and include web results. And we're going to see here in the manufacturer catalog that we don't, well, in fact, we do see sub in this case. Let me just type in, let's just try Viking. Let's see if I can do that. Manufacturer catalog. It should be that Viking is not included in that search, but let's just check this out real quick. It might need to be exactly spelled. I'm missing it just a little bit there, but our Boolean operators should still get us those search operators where we're not including certain items. So hopefully this helped you out understand this system, how we can get to things really, really quickly. Again, keep in mind, let's just do one more test of this before I close it down. Let's just do this same range test, okay? We're going to clear all this stuff out and then get into add filters. And what we'll do is we'll do text contains, and we're just going to say, in this case, we'll go freestanding. Or maybe we'll just do gas. We'll just type in gas, okay? And then in our type, we're going to look for, actually, we're going to get into symbol type. We're going to get into ranges, freestanding, all right? And then catalogs to not include. Now notice that we don't have certain catalogs downloaded. So we don't have Viking downloaded to be able to not include it, right? So I would need to download that first. So in this case, Kohler's not really helpful. It's not really going to show me anything here, but I'm just showing you that we've got a setup here where we're excluding certain catalogs. So there we go. We're searching and excluding certain catalogs, which would lead you to believe that you could say exclude, and well, we're going to exclude certain keywords in this case. So that's the same as just putting in that operator. So if we say exclude Viking, okay, and notice when I type that in, let's just go here again, let's go exclude certain keywords. Let's go Viking, Viking Range Corporation, that's the manufacturer, and exclude keywords, and in this case, we're going to say gas. So we're excluding gas as a keyword, and this is getting us to just, let's see. Interesting. Exclude keywords in this case doesn't apply because we don't have apply filter here. So a few things to learn yet. I'm still learning this system. There's so much to it. I can't even tell you. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. If you've found some kind of cool little workflow tweak in this, please leave it in the comments. I'd like to hear more. I imagine I'm going to do this video again. We're probably going to get into beta X16 in this next quarter. I'm going to be at KBiz for 2024. That's in Vegas. And, you know, that's where they're going to preview X16. I'll be on the showroom floor. Come check me out. I'm happy to talk to you about this stuff. I'm happy to show you all these tips and tricks in person as well. And then, yeah, leave a like. Please subscribe to my channels. Appreciate it.